A Dane County community's example of a collaborative approach to improving the lives of those in poverty is next on For the Record. Thanks for joining us. I'm Neil Heinen. Early in this new year, we look ahead to how we will address the important issues facing our communities and the lives of our neighbors and co-workers, and in some cases, our families. And I was struck by an inclusive, innovative, strategic project in Sun Prairie. It's called Conversation Week 2016. It happens in March, and preparation is already underway. It's the idea of Peter Curran, Executive Director of Sunshine Place in Sun Prairie, and Peter joins me for the program, along with Sun Prairie resident and volunteer mom, Mary Kaufman. And thank you both very much for joining me this morning.
Oh, you're welcome. We're thrilled to be here.
Peter, start by explaining what Sunshine Place is.
Right. Sunshine Place is an 8-year-old social services organization. We're a social services hub in the community. The vision 8 years ago was, how can we get all of our social services delivery into one convenient location? How can we collaborate with the county services and also house them in that same building? And they started with a candle campaign called Light the Way, and they built a building and it houses our food pantry. And now today we're 6 volunteer entities delivering food through our food pantry, food through our community meal called Sunshine Supper, which is every Monday night. It's open to anyone in the community. Service doors open at 5 and we serve at 5:30. We serve about 120 people on average every Monday night. We deliver clothes to students through cards, like in Cardinals. We're the Sun Prairie Cardinals.
Sure,
so
right.
Cards Closet. And we deliver clothes to students. I mean, it's run by students. There's a student-run board. And early on, I learned that the social workers in our schools are our hub of our collaboration. Yep. And the clothing is requested by the social worker at the school, and then we give it back to the social worker, and they give it back to the students. So there's a lot of anonymity. It's really neat. 8
years. It seems weird that I've not heard of Sunshine Place.
Yeah, well, there's a lot about it that really makes us unique.
Yeah.
And then we have a bed team, led by the bed lady, Lisa Wilkins.
Okay.
And she's been delivering beds to kids who are sleeping on the floor in our community for the last 7 years. And anywhere from 50 to 80 kids a year will need a bed in our community. If you have a car, you move to Sun Prairie with what fits in the trunk of your car. If you don't have a car, you certainly don't have anything but fits in a garbage bag. And your clothing is the most important thing that you're going to bring with you.
Yep.
So you can imagine there are kids sleeping on the floor in our community, and we provide them with a free, brand new twin bed, box spring mattress, pillow, blankets, sheets. Everything they need to have a warm, comfortable night. And we also have something called the Spirit of Giving, which is a toy drive, which happened just in December. And we supplied 1,200 kids with a toy to fulfill their wishes. So that's about 425 families get those toys. And they also get a free meal that's in a box. It's a turkey. It's a really neat opportunity. And then the last thing that we do is called Stuff the Bus. And that's been around, and many people know about Stuff the Bus. But we provide 1,000 backpacks to students, and on distribution day we'll use about 800 of those backpacks filled with school supplies, and then we give the rest to the school district, and then they distribute as needed.
So it sounds like this is a complementary to United Way and
certainly.
Dane County Human Services and stuff. What identified gaps there that Sunshine Place fills?
I think it's important to note that you're not federally funded.
Yeah.
So, so it's all driven through the community. And
okay.
Right, we're 100% donor funded. Exactly. And we do collaborate with United Way. We're a United Way agency, so we benefit from that. And we get a portion of our funding through direct donations from folks that select United Way and select Sunshine Place.
So it feels like Sun Prairie feels some ownership of this, Mary. Huh?
Yes.
That this is
and just to take off what you said about not having heard of it in 8 years,
right.
I mean, I've lived in Sun Prairie for 6 years, and I had seen it, but never really engaged with it, didn't really know kind of what it did, what was its purpose. And they're doing so many great things there. And when Peter called and asked me to be part of it, I mean, naturally, that was something that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So,
what do we need to know about poverty in Sun Prairie? You know, what does it look like? I think a lot of people watching this would assume that Sun Prairie is a fairly affluent community.
And they would probably be right. Yeah. And I think we have an awareness that it's happening. But even for me, I saw a picture on the Facebook page of a mom with 4 kids in her van, and that for me really struck a chord because I'm a mom with 4 kids, 9 and under, and just for a moment I thought, well, I mean, that could be me. She probably didn't choose that, so you feel compelled to help. But I think this conversation week that we have started is really an opportunity for people in the community who don't know what avenue to take to help, even if they want to. This is going to be a platform for them to be able to come and do their part or offer some service.
Right. We have 3 measures of poverty that we talk about that really help understand the why of Conversation Week. The first one is the most telling one. Sun Prairie has about 30,000 residents. But 7.6% of those, or 2,300 people, live below the poverty line in Sun Prairie. That's pretty alarming. And to give you for an example, the below the poverty line for a family of 4 is $24,000. That's not a lot. If they have a car and an apartment and medical expenses and living expenses, how can you stretch $24,000 in a year across 4 people? It's tough. Another measure of poverty in Sun Prairie is that there are 37 kids in the school district who are considered homeless. They do not have a permanent address. They're couch surfing, they're sometimes living in their car. That's really been reduced in our community, but that still does happen. But they're going from home to home or living with a friend, and that's not a way to live, a healthy way to live, much less how can they wake up and go to school and be educated.
Sure.
And then the last measure of poverty dimension in Sun Prairie is the number of free and reduced lunch students. We have one school, an elementary school called Westside Elementary, doing a great job. Unfortunately, they have a centralized issue where 57% of the students are in free and reduced lunch. And that's amazing. It's telling that, think about that these kids fortunately are getting breakfast and lunch, but some of them are going home at night and some aren't getting dinner, or they're having trouble stretching their food to get dinner and lunch on the weekends. So poverty has a presence in our community, unfortunately.
Are you seeing the same kind of racial disparities in Sun Prairie as other communities?
Sun Prairie has a diverse makeup. I'm not attuned to exact statistics on it, but we certainly are as diverse as any community in Dane County right now.
And that poverty, household income tends to be disproportionately families of color. Is that what you see?
Well, the statistic, yes, that tends to be a single mom, and yes, tends to be a person of color.
I just think that's gonna play into when we start talking about Conversation Week, which we're gonna do when we come back right after this commercial.
All right.
YouTube is a wonderful thing. That's where we found that piece on Conversation Week that was the brainchild of Peter Curran, the executive director of Sunshine Place, and Mary Kaufman, who is a volunteer, a resident of Sun Prairie, who's working on Conversation Week. So where in the 8-year history of Sunshine Place did Conversation Week emerge, Peter?
Conversation Week was a brainstorm, and that's what it is, but it was a brainstorm of mine. I was sitting around thinking about prospecting the next person to tell a story to raise the funds to run Sunshine Place, because we are 100% donor funded. Sure. And I sat there thinking, I can't get enough plates out in a short period of time, so we need to somehow engage the entire community. And I literally use a plate where I write a letter on the plate and I glue a fork to it. But on the top of the plate, it said, please join our conversation. And then bam, it hit me. It said, we need to have a conversation that engages the entire community. And that's a huge, lofty goal. But we are taking it on through multimedia purposes and social media to try to get people to engage in that conversation through churches, classrooms, conference rooms, cul-de-sacs, coffee houses, anything we can think of, to start talking about how can we change the circumstances of those in poverty related to food, housing, and transportation.
Now, is there something that right now that gives you the confidence that Sun Prairie is ready for this, that maybe they hadn't been, 2 or 3 years ago, but that now's the time to engage this community?
It really is the time.
I think so. I think Sun Prairie is very generous with their money and their donations, and we keep Sunshine Place running. But at the same time, people have a lot of talents and skills that they maybe could use to make the situation better instead of just maintaining it. And of course, no one is ever going to turn down the money and the funds, but it would cause more ownership, I think, if people had an opportunity to make an impact with their own talents and skills. And I think people want that. They want to do better and they want to make an impact, and this really is an opportunity for them to do that.
Now, had you been volunteering at Sunshine Place, Mary?
Actually, no.
Okay. So how did you hear about Conversation Week?
I attended the Sunshine Ball last spring, and that's where I met Peter. And then he just reached out to me this fall and asked, if I would be interested in helping him with this idea. And, I try to be positive. I try to teach my kids positive things. I think, this is a good example for them to see about how we can have immediate impact and really make a difference today about what's happening in our community and the people, that we're amongst there.
So walk us through it, Peter. I mean, this is, as I said, this is already underway, but the week is in March. How do you want to see this roll out?
Conversation Week is literally a week in March where we hope to culminate the conversation. But conversations take a long time to grow, and awareness takes a long time. So we started the conversation the first week of January, and we're doing it 2 ways. One is conversationweek.com. It's our portal to capture all of our information, identify the why of Conversation Week. And then the second...
Is that where all this stuff came from?
Oh, the ideas. Those are on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah,
I want to talk about those in a minute, but go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. But Mary, tell us about the second, the way the conversation's moving through town, and it's sitting right in front of us.
So these baskets here we've put together, we had a generous donation of 1,000 quick breads, and we put 15 baskets together that are moving through the community now. The idea is that you take a bread from the basket, you take an action plan, and follow it, bake a bread, have some people over, talk with your family about it, get some ideas about what can we do in the community to make things better.
A conversation in a box.
That's right.
Right? I mean, it's just
it's
great.
something even I could do.
That's great.
They're very simple to make.
Yeah.
So that's
It
good.
doesn't take a lot.
And then you just pass the basket to the next person that you know, and they take a bread and they have a conversation. And then, after your conversation, we want you to log your ideas on conversationweek.com.
Right.
And so then in March, when we pull them all together, they're already housed there, and so we can kind of sort them out. But that's how the baskets are moving through the community. And then we have them in 3 locations that are sort of
the public library,
high traffic areas.
the Colonial Club, and Sunshine Place.
Sure.
So.
And the baskets, the food is just a means to gather people together. The yellow sheet are the instructions on what to do and how to pass the basket on to the next person. And on the right, the white neighborhood action plan is where you get going. It also identifies the why of Conversation Week and then gets you going. And then Conversation Week will end. In March, it will end, and we'll take the ideas and we'll share them with the community. We've already begun to do that by posting them on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
And we're going to do ideas updates. Every time we have a batch of ideas, it'll be update number 1, which just went out. Then we'll do ideas update number 2, and so on. But in April, on April 10th, we're holding a public summit, just a 2-hour brainstorm to prioritize the ideas and to identify who might be an owner of an idea. And what we mean is who would be the right group of people or the right business group or the right church group to own this idea and move it through the community and actually do some action.
Or even an individual who wanted to stand up, who has skills and resources.
I love some of these ideas.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
they're really thoughtful.
Well, I think they're authentic. You know, they're
Yeah.
coming from the people. So.
But you've identified some topic areas that you want to focus
Yes.
on, right?
Food, housing, and transportation.
Transportation.
And food would be the insecurity as it relates to young children
Right.
and then senior citizens. Those are the two groups that have the biggest issues with food. And just to give you an idea that popped up from the first few days of Conversation Week, groceries on wheels. A lot of problems with these three problems that we're talking about, food, housing, and transportation, are related to access.
Yep.
And can we somehow bring the food or the basics like meat, vegetables, dairy, milk and eggs, and so on to some of the neighborhoods that we know have issues with transportation that can't get to our local Walmart or our local Woodman's or our local Cops because they just aren't walkable. So is there a way to do groceries on wheels? And related to that, grocery delivery service. There's been companies that have done grocery delivery services, but should we focus a program on the disabled, the ill, and those 65 plus, where we literally create a delivery service that maybe it's a co-op, that's a delivery co-op, and we bring the groceries to the people that don't have access, so we are bringing them healthy, nutritious, affordable food. So that's a couple ideas that came up in the food
Yeah.
arena. In the housing arena, we have something called the Home Mission Fund, which is someone we collaborate with. It's executed through Porchlight, and it's designed to give emergency cash for utilities and rental assistance to prevent evictions.
Yep.
But what if we had our financials in town all have their own, not their own account, but an account that's the emergency housing account, and you can randomly donate to it, and you can round up or round down whatever you're depositing or taking out. You can also say, you know what, I want some money to go to the Home Mission Fund today.
Yeah. I want to take the last break before we get to transportation, and then and then we'll talk a little bit about how this is moving through Sun Prairie when we come back right after this. I'm back with Peter Curran, the Executive Director of Sunshine Place in Sun Prairie, and Mary Kaufman, who is a volunteer at Sunshine Place working on Conversation Week, which we are talking about on For the Record today. And we talked about two of the issue areas, Peter, housing and food insecurity, which I always like to point out is different than hunger. Food insecurity is occasional trouble getting enough food, and it's stressful. It can be really hard for people. And then transportation was the third.
Here's just a quick idea on transportation. This is a big what if, but it was an interesting idea that came from someone. What if there were flex dollars for transportation? You know how you can do pre-tax dollars for medical assistance? Why shouldn't there be flex dollars for transportation? Because there's so many people that don't have a car, but they rely on a taxi. And as affordable as it is, it's not affordable enough.
I love how people are thinking about really practical things, but then different things. You know, it's not the same old stuff.
Right.
So how is this conversation growing in Sun Prairie, Mary? What do you see that leads you to believe people are engaging?
Sure. Well, we just had our kickoff with the baskets this week, and there's been a good response to that. We shared some videos on Facebook, and there are a lot of views, so we're happy about that. Anybody that I've talked to is excited about it. You know, it's something different. They want to be a part of it. They're asking me, what can I do? How can I help? So that's been a really positive response. In a couple of weeks, we're going to have a social.
On the 19th.
On the 19th, in the evening, 5 to 7 at the round table. And we'll have appetizers, drinks, desserts, and everyone will get a roll card where it gives an example of something that they've actually dealt with at the Sunshine Place. So it makes it more personal. You know, you can kind of visualize what that person went through.
And get them thinking about Conversation Week and preparing for Conversation Week.
And talking to each other about it, too.
Yeah, can you tell them what they're doing at St. Albert's?
Just received an email. I go to St. Albert's and received an email in my inbox 2 days ago. And what they are doing is including this as part of their Poverty Awareness Month. So they sent out an email blast to everybody letting them know that this is happening and how it ties into what they're working on.
And they're actually making their own quick bread mixes this weekend at the church.
So
that was neat.
Yeah,
so
that's a
taking
really
off.
that's a
and
great
Starbucks
example.
too is doing their own basket. So I mean, I think it's a good idea and people are embracing it, and hopefully it leads to us affecting the numbers instead of just maintaining them.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's I mean, the potential here is really fascinating, Peter. Obviously, there are communities around the country that are dealing with these issues, and they're all looking at how they can have an impact on these issues. But there's the feel of this is that Sun Prairie can get on top of this. The numbers are something that they can deal with.
We can.
It seems like
we really believe that.
Yeah.
We're so excited about it and want people to embrace our enthusiasm, because we're not asking for,
It's not for money. It's
can we
for
put
what
more
you
money
can give,
against something?
right?
Can we put more food against it? Can we give more clothes? How can we change someone's circumstances? How can we get people jobs? How can we get them access to food? How can we get them transportation? There's a lot of unique ideas on our Facebook page that people should check out and give us ideas, because we are going to capture kids' ideas, adult ideas, senior ideas, those in poverty, their own ideas.
And it's for everyone.
Yeah.
It's not just for people who have to give to those that don't. We want the ideas of the people that don't, because they know best what they need.
Excellent point.
And so, and kids, I mean, kids don't have barriers to ideas. They're out there, they don't understand, what might hinder that. So
And
listen to the
they
kids.
are going to be part of this conversation.
Yes.
We are trying to get everyone involved, and that's part of why the bread's involved. Get your kid involved and have them bake a bread and tell them what they're trying to accomplish at Sunshine Place.
And so action steps will be announced in April?
Action steps will be announced periodically, but we'll do a summit in April 10th, where we whittle down the ideas to maybe 3 to 5 manageable per category. And then we're going to go to those people that we've identified as the owners and say, hi, city, the community believes you might own this concept.
And then post updates.
Yeah.
They carried it out. This is what happened.
After that, come back and let's do this again.
Oh,
And
excellent.
we'll follow up. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
We're going to come back and wrap up For the Record in just a minute. My thanks to Peter Curran and Mary Kaufman for introducing us to Conversation Week. Follow along at conversationweek.com. See you next week.